Hi, my name is Gary Brewer, and today I'm going to demonstrate Cumulus, one of the most powerful digital asset management systems on the market today. Before I start, let's take a high-level look at the architecture of Cumulus. Cumulus is a server application. We have here a metadata server, and this can run on a Mac X, Windows, or Linux, or can be virtualized. And here is where we store all of the rich data that is indexed and extracted when we ingest assets into the system. Here you see we have the native client, which is installed on a desktop or local machine. And this is really for your power users. And these are the people that are going to configure and set up the application for things like roles, permissions, workflows, so forth. Now the native client does require a user license. Now you will need to open up a port, either 9287 or 8954, so the native client can connect to the web server. The web server you see here is in a DMZ. And this is really a secure subnet that separates your network from the rest of the internet. That is why the native client behind the firewall can allow for unrestricted access for admins. Here is where we can also access the server from the web client. And this is for your day-to-day contributors who are uploading, sharing, editing for searchability, sharing out to internal and external users, and this also requires a user license. Now you will also see here we can access the database using sites. And this is our distribution portal. And this is really for both externals and internals who don't need to manipulate records, but only download, share, and view approved records. This does not take up a license. Now you also see here on the Apache Web Server SIP, or Canto Integration Platform, and this is so we can integrate Cumulus with third-party applications like a CMS, a CRM, a PIM, e-commerce, and I will get into that in just a little bit. Now if you look here, you will see that Cumulus does integrate with Active Directory, so users can log into the system and maintain their network credentials for authentication. If you scroll down here, one of the things we want to point out that's unique about Cumulus is that we don't really store assets on the application server. We essentially point to your assets on a CAL, or Central Asset Location, and that could be one of many servers on your system like a SAN, a RAID, a NAS. And all we do is we create a thumbnail reference of that record or asset in Cumulus. Now what that means is your assets will always be secure. If they're ever moved or deleted in Cumulus, there'll always be a physical copy of all your assets on the back end. Now let's take a look at SIP. The RESTful API is the middleware that sits between the client and the server. Now how this works is it makes HTTP requests to the database on the server and returns that information in the form of JSON, or JavaScript Object Notation. Now JSON is basically XML without markup to make it a smaller file and memory footprint, so it can be easier for programmers to loop through and use in any program language without needing to call in a library to handle the document like XML. So that's a quick high-level view of the architecture of Cumulus. Let's go ahead and take a look at the application. So what we are looking at on my screen here is the login screen. This is a pure web tool. There are no plugins required. You can use any browser like Mozilla, Safari, IE, or Chrome. And this can also tie into Active Directory. Now also keep in mind that Cumulus can handle over 300 different file types, so it has a lot of flexibility. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here. Now what we are being displayed here are the catalogs that my administrator has given me access to. Let's just assume that a catalog is a way to separate our content. Think of it like a file cabinet. Now I can have 100 catalogs in Cumulus, but my administrator is only giving me access to these two. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the sample catalog. Now what you're looking at here is my dashboard. Now this can be branded with your logos and colors and any text to meet your specific needs. The dashboard allows me to have one-click access to anywhere in my system. So you see here I can upload, I can add items to a basket, I can see when I've been notified when another user is collaborating with me, I can browse through a category tree structure that my administrator has defined for me, I can also do a global search by typing in keywords or containers in this field, I can click here and toggle on the fly back and forth and see all of my catalogs my administrator has given me access to. Now if we scroll down to the second half of the page, you will see here my recent activities, my recent uploads, and this is recent activities company-wide. So content from any users in the system will show up here. So with any DAM system, There are three main tenets or core functions the system is meant to perform. The first function is to upload, the second is to edit for searchability, and the third is to share and repurpose. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to upload. The first way is I can click open this asset folder and select one or all these assets and hit OK. The other way is I can scroll down to the same folder, drag them in here. So while these are being ingested, let's go ahead and click open this record. So here you see Cumulus automatically extracts the related metadata associated with this record. Now this is out of the box, but this can be configured and customized to meet your specific needs. So here you see we have the file format, the height, the width, the resolution. Now the first thing I'm going to do is take this record and add it to a container to create some organization. So let's say I want to put this in my approval container, my image container. I can put it in as many containers as I want. And the reason why this is significant is I'm not making a copy of this asset. I'm really referencing this record or asset in multiple containers, so anytime there's a change made, like a new version, or there's been some additional metadata that's been updated, it's going to update that record anywhere in the system it lives. Let's say I want to add more keywords for searchability. I'll go ahead and add Gary, test, image, and I'll add demo, image. Now if we scroll down here a little further, you will see that I can add an author, I can add a copyright notice, and these are just digital rights that I can embed into the image. And I can also give it a star rating and go ahead and hit save. Now if I go up here and type in Gary, test, image, and hit enter, it's going to not only return the image that I just edited, but any other image in the system that also has that metadata in the record. So I showed you how to upload and edit records for searchability. Let's take a look at some work in progress. Let's scroll down and select this random image here. So you see across the top here we have some other tabs. We have relations, we have collections, we have history, and we have comments. If I click on the relations tab, what you will see here is we have usage, variant, and alternates. Let's start with usage. I can use this to create and find groups of files that coexist, like a PowerPoint with multiple images and slides, or an InDesign file that had dozens of images. I can use this feature to group those records with a master file and find with one click. Now with variants, let's say I have this image, but I also have it in a PNG, PDF, TIFF. I can also do the same thing. I can select the master file, then assign a variant, so these files can all be derived from the same source. With alternates, let's say I'm at a photo shoot and I'm taking a picture of a model. I have a frontal view, profile left, profile right. I can group those different perspectives together by assigning an alternate, so again I can find and locate these with just one click. So let's move on to collections, history, and comments. I'm going to jump over to comments. If you click on comments, you see I have a field here where I can create a string of comments for people within my system, asking them to do certain things or actions like look at a file, make changes to a file, and reply back to me. I can also make comments directly on the preview itself. So I can go ahead and make a comment directly in the preview here. I can go ahead and select a specific area I want someone to take a look at, make changes, what have you. And I also have this freeform tool where I can really be more definitive in terms of what I'm asking someone to specifically do or look at. Now with this feature, you will no longer need to spend time creating or searching for notes using PDF markup tools, and users can now send a notification, collaborate with each other, without having to attach files to an email, which is time consuming and inefficient. So let's say I want to make a request to someone to make a change to this image, say make it black and white. I can type in a message here and post it. The user I sent the post to can go ahead and check this record out. They can open it up in Photoshop. They can go ahead and change this image to black and white. They can save the changed record to a folder on the desktop. And now all I have to do is check this record back in. Now I can receive a notification that the change was made, and now I can go to my history tab and see that I have the edited record along with the original record, but the black and white is now the current record in the system. I can always go back and change back to the current version by clicking this tab to the right. So this is a great way to have accountability, as once the record is checked out, nobody else in the system can edit it except that person that has it checked out. Other users can view it and share it, but only one person at a time can work on that file once it's checked out. So now I've showed you how to upload, edit for searchability, do some basic workflows. Let's say I want to download this record. Now the great thing about Cumulus is it gives us a lot of options here, and these can all be customized to make changes to the record. I could say proof of print, proof of web, create 300 DPI, but let's say that I want to convert this record to a PNG with a watermark. I can select download, and as it's preparing to download, you see here I'm notified. Once it's downloaded, a viewer window will pop up, and you will see I now have a preview of this edited black and white image with a watermark. So there's a lot of features, functionality, and collaboration that I can do in Cumulus to create some really solid workflows. So I've shown you how to upload, I've shown you how to edit for searchability, I've shown you some work in progress. Now let's go ahead and share some of these records. So let's say I want to select these 4 images here and share them out. I can go ahead and select them, then click this share button. Now there's 3 ways to share records in Cumulus. I can create a record for personal use, I can share the collection with Cumulus users, and I can send a link to the collection to selected recipients. I'm going to go ahead and select that one. Now I'm going to go ahead and call this Gary test file. I can go ahead and type in a user here, and if they are integrated in the Active Directory, they will autocomplete, and I can hit enter. I'm going to go ahead and put in test as a subject. I can add text. I can go ahead and send an embargo date for when I want this collection to go out. I can set an expiration date for when I want this collection to come offline. I can request a password for an extra layer of security. And here I can granularly define how I want my recipient to interact with this collection. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and give them full access. I'm now going to select send, and now I can go into my inbox, click open this link, and you will see that only the records that I've given this recipient to review appear in this window. Now what my recipient can do is go ahead and do a preview. They can view any information on the record. They can print for web, for print. They can download to 72 DPI. They can create a zip file from selection. They can convert this record to a PNG and add a watermark. They can copy the original asset. All the things that I've given my recipient permission to do, they can do right here. And this is called Sites. And what this is our distribution portal. Now let's go ahead and check this out even further. So I'm going to go ahead and log in with an early login. Now what we're going to see here is the entire database. Here I can search by categories. I can go ahead and search by keywords. I can search by sources. I can search by ratings, file formats, dates. Now as I scroll across here, I can go ahead and click open this one image. And I can perform a lot of the same functions in Sites that I can do in the web client. I can look at the information, I can print, I can download, I can add this record to a collection basket, I can go ahead and send this to somebody, I can create a lot of the same workflows as I can in the web client. I can go ahead and remove this from the basket, clear the basket. So this is a real good platform for anybody who does not need to manipulate any records, but just needs to preview, download, and share. And Sites is really good for a vendor portal. Now the great thing about Sites is it does not require a license. So what I've shown you here is Cumulus in a nutshell. Now there are really some cool ways to brand this. What you're looking at here is an example of Sennheiser. Now I'm going to go ahead and log in. Now you can brand this and customize it to have special left navigation. This entire front end is HTML5 and CSS and can be completely customized. Let's go ahead and click here. What we're viewing here are approved images from Sennheiser. Let's say I'm a retailer for Sennheiser and I'm running an ad and I need to get some images. I can scroll here and view approved images on demand. I can go ahead and preview an image. I can print, put it in a basket, download, and you will see here I have to agree to Sennheiser's terms and conditions before I can use this approved record. So this is a real powerful platform for companies who have consumers both external and internal to navigate and interact with content in a branded environment. Let's take a look at some of the back end of Cumulus. What I'm showing you here is the server console. And here is where you can have complete control and can set up automatic rules. It's highly configurable. You can monitor activities, you can schedule backups, you can configure mail settings, generate reports, you can schedule events and tasks, you can configure multiple instances of sites, you can set up users and grant them unique or group permissions, you can decide what fields they can see, what catalogs they can access, and so on. We can configure the website here. This is just a very, very powerful tool. Now, what I'm showing you now is the native client. Here you see your taxonomy for search and category tree structure. I can open up a subpane and preview alternates and variants. And if you right-click on an image, you can see information and create workflows like assign approvals, variants, show locations of the CAL, central asset location. Right here, I can click on preferences. This is where you can configure many of the conventions for users, such as user settings, record view sets, category view sets. And you can see here that we give the power user just tremendous arsenal to set up, configure, and customize Cumulus for optimal workflow and collaboration environment for the day-to-day contributors working in the system. I want to thank you for your time today. And if you have any further questions, you can go to www.canto.com or call 415-426-7738. Thank you.